Chinhee.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. What happened to you is the name of your podcast. I hope you do you have all year?
I have as long as we'd like to go.
I decided to go live for my followers. Sebastian Scales, is that what's your name on TikTok?
Yeah, it's just Sebastian Scales.
Of course, my sister's late.
Just no problem at all. Hey, Sunhee, how are you?
How are you?
Hey, Scumhee, how are you?
Where is this airing?
Just all over the internet.
Don't be calling me Scumhee then. God. Can I air my TikTok live?
Of course. So Chinhee said she's live as well. So we're gonna have this is pretty cool. We're gonna have multiple people live streaming the podcast on TikTok. I love it. I've only done a couple of 3-person podcasts, so this is pretty exciting.
How did that go?
Well, but I haven't done it with twins before, so I feel like you guys are gonna be communicating in ways that I might not pick up on. So bear with me if it takes a little while. But
yeah, we have our own little language.
For sure. This is basically a totally open podcast. I'm pretty familiar with your guys' stories from watching your TikToks and things like that. I was also molested, experienced some child abuse, so I'll be chiming in with some questions related. And other than that, it's like pretty much completely open. So however you'd like to tell your story is great. You guys have any questions before we get started?
We should have like a molesting club.
Yeah, I mean, there's just such a market for it.
It seems like everybody's been molested. Like, it's just like crazy.
Yeah, but what's amazing about you, Sebastian, is that you're a guy who's been molested and who's so open and expressing it. It's like you are like a major inspiration because more guys need to be like you.
Thank you, Chinhee. I appreciate that. It's one of those things where it's like it feels like nobody really knows the extent that this happens to men or women. It's just like this thing that's been forever brushed under the rug, and so many people are uncomfortable talking about it. And yeah, I agree. Something about this, the masculinity aspect, I think sort of adds to it. But I feel like regardless of gender, it's just so hard to talk about in the way that we normally approach these topics. So that's why with stand-up and things like that, I'm trying to find ways that make it easier for people to talk about it. And humor is certainly one of those ways.
I haven't yet been able to find humor in it. But how would you approach it in that way? I mean, I admire you for doing that. I would love to be laughing about my shit. You know what I mean?
Well, we'll see what happens on the podcast today. Maybe by the end of it, we'll be having some jokes. Who knows? I think part of it was that I always felt like, so I went to trial when I was 11. I told my parents when I was 10.
Oh my God, trial?
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was.
Wow.
What's that?
You got justice?
No.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was a hung jury. So 6 people said that he did it and 6 people said that he did not.
Stop.
So yeah, and like in our judicial system, you have to have 12 people, and like it's impossible to get 12 Americans to agree on anything, let alone like child molestation. So no, he did not get convicted. All we got was a restraining order, which is pretty standard for molestation cases just because there's like rarely any evidence. It's just like,
yeah,
this kid, obviously kids, why would you lie about this? But for our judicial system, it's not enough generally. So yeah, I feel like when I was talking about it as a kid, whenever I would bring it up, you see people's reactions to it. And oftentimes like you feel bad about making people feel bad. And I would feel like guilty for even bringing it up because I don't want to make you feel bad for me or just bad in general. So I found that with stand-up, like it's a lot easier to talk about this when the people that you're talking to are laughing. And like it's not that they're laughing at you, they're laughing with you at the absurdity of it and like the thought process and what was going on in our heads and things like that. And these conversations on this podcast, it's not like the whole time we're laughing, but I find laughter to be a good introduction and a way to sort of like alleviate the intensity of the conversation without like diminishing the significance of it. Everyone processes it differently though, it's like there's certainly no right way to do it. If we don't laugh the whole time, that's completely fine too, just like literally no pressure.
Oh, we'll be laughing.
Well, I'm sorry that you didn't get the justice that you deserved, but at least you're like, I just feel like you're so much, you're very inspiring to all of us because of how you're dealing with it. So,
Yeah.
Thank you. It would have been awesome for him to get convicted, but at the end of the day, like I just didn't want it to happen anymore. And ultimately, that speaking up got me out of the situation, and hopefully prevented him from molesting kids further. Once you have one strike, like I feel like if somebody else accused him, it'd be tough for him to be like, no, I swear, So I think that it did have some sort of a prevention or it was a deterrent for this guy moving forward. So there might not have been like legal justice in that way, but I think there was some societal justice, and people were definitely aware because there were like a bunch of articles written and things like that. So the town knew.
good.
Really, the best thing we can do, as you guys know, is just talk about it. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to have you both here today. And without further ado, what happened to you two?
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being
Um,
here.
well, it all started at 2 when we stepped foot onto American soil. I don't know if we would have been better off in Korea or here. No, I'm just kidding.
I got like definitely molested in Korea too.
At 2?
Well, that girl that like dropped us off, she was like, she threw us at our parents. Like she didn't want us to go.
Who was this?
The lady that gave us to our parents from the foster home. Remember the one that was on the plane with us?
I don't remember her. I don't remember a thing at 2.
We had an escort at 2 years old to come to America.
Yeah.
I had some flashbacks about her.
Oh.
But I don't remember everything, but all I know is it's men and women with me. So I'm like effed up because of that.
This is so interesting too, because it's like with traumatic experiences, our memories are always like very shaky, and like it's hard to put things back together in your head. And you probably both remember, I mean, clearly different aspects of this. Anyway, we can get into that.
The difference between Sunhee and I is that Sunhee blocked her stuff out for quite a while.
Because it
And
only happened once or twice.
And when you say it, what do you mean? So just starting from the beginning here. So you guys were in foster care, or what happened like right before that?
Oh, we were in foster care. Our mom, our Korean mom, she put us up for adoption after hanging out with us for 2 years. Who does that? How could you give away 2 kids after hanging out with them for 2 years, watching them have diaper rashes and probably lactose intolerant,
we didn't even have diapers. We were so poor, remember? She said we never wore diapers.
So all I know is at the foster home, let's see, I got slapped all the time. I was like totally malnourished. When we got to America, we looked at hot dogs and peeled them. We thought they were bananas. And then we had this huge welcome because we were the first overseas children to be adopted in the 70s. So, of course, it was some big shenanigan and welcome party at JFK Airport. And someone pushed me at the airport, and I had a big ball of purple, black, and blue on my head because she pushed me and to America with a black and blue head.
That's a tough introduction. So what happened after that?
I would start feeling like I was a guy. Like I'd have visuals and dreams like I was a guy having sex with a girl. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I did not understand it because I was so young. But what I didn't know was that I was picking up like clairvoyantly what was going on with my sister.
Wow. So what do you mean? Like what exactly, how did this all start?
So my father, there was a big age gap with him and our mother. We had an Irish mother and an Italian father adopt us, and they were like almost 20 years age gap. So I think it was like 16 or 17 years age gap. And he almost got denied to even adopt us. But then because of his connections and money, he was able to get us. I'm pretty sure we had some good times from like age 2 up until 4. And then that's when the abuse started.
I don't really remember many good times.
It's kind of hard.
A bunch of fake sugar candy, like spoiled with fake sugar candy. I remember, and stupid twin outfits like plaid and Geranimals and stuff like that.
I mean, we remember like bits and pieces of like going on vacation, getting gifts. It was always gifts. But because Sunhee had such a big mouth, our father couldn't ever, I don't even like calling him father. I like calling him a-hole. Is that okay?
It's so okay. Yeah.
So it just makes me sick. He doesn't deserve that title. So I was pretty much his girlfriend. Let's put it that way. From like age, I'm pretty sure it was like 4 to 14. So I was always in the bathtub with him, in the shower. And I think he would try to, like, if my sister would like would come in and see anything happening, he would throw her in the closet and keep her in there for hours.
Wow.
Other times she would be like, either, she was always scared of him. So she would always like be under the bed, everywhere. Just like, it was a very weird scenario in our house. It definitely didn't look like what the outside portrayed.
Of course. Yeah, it never seems to. I mean, the same situation with me. The guy who molested me was like a pillar of the community. Everybody trusted this guy.
Oh,
He
yeah.
coached all of the kids in soccer and stuff. So that's pretty standard.
And so you probably got a lot of people that didn't believe you.
Well, at least there were at least 6 jurors who didn't believe me. That's for sure. Yeah, I think most of the town did. I think for most people, it's easy to look at a scenario like that and be like, kids have no reason to say that this happened. Like, it was my best friend's dad who molested me, and like, I have no reason to say that he touched my dick other than touching my dick. Like, there's no motivation for it. So I think it just, generally people who don't believe you have like their own issues that they have internalized, and you speaking up is causing them to deal with their own emotions that maybe they don't want to. Maybe somebody that they love was accused of something like this, and, it's generally unrelated to you. But yeah, there were definitely people who still associated with the guy who molested me.
Wow. Yeah, it's we didn't tell people until later, and
I didn't fucking know.
My sister was so like, because my dad used to also drug my sister when she was like around 4 or 5, like from 4 on. He would drug her with Benadryl.
That's why I couldn't remember it for so long. But like, we're sitting in Manhattan, and you're telling me at the age of what, 27, that that dad is a Hester molester, and I was like, what? Like,
Lee, it was 21. You really don't remember stuff. Let me tell the story, okay?
Oh, when you told me and it really sank in, I went home, threw a phone at him. I dragged him out of his bed. He was shaking. And like, I grabbed my bag and I slammed it on his head. I was like, and you're lucky you're not dead right now. Like, I was so mad. Like, I literally couldn't kill him then. So I did get a little bit of like anger out on him, but
yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah,
like, it still it's not gonna take back our peace of mind. I'm more sensitized because I literally just had my last flashback at 48, Benadryl, being drugged, and then being totally not just molested, but like full-blown sex. And I saw the visual, I saw the shower, I saw everything.
I would tell my sister everything that went on, and she just couldn't even digest it, because at the time of 21, when I was finally able to talk about it, I couldn't talk about it until I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
Because my own mother went against me. She didn't believe me. I actually wrote up a piece on I can't remember what the heck's the name of it. It's a survivor type of organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I was writing about my mother, who knew something was wrong with me because I was absolutely a zombie, because he was sexually abusing me from like age 4 to 14 while I was going to school. So it's like I couldn't even get up for school sometimes. So my mom knew something was wrong with me. She kept ignoring it. And then finally one day, like when I was around 11, or 12, she comes into the bathroom while I'm sitting in the bathroom like a zombie, jams her finger up me and says, "You fucking whore."
Whoa.
Yeah. This is what a narcissist mother we had. She totally went against us.
Did she do that because she had found out about what was happening?
She had suspected something was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So her way of finding out wasn't simply talking to me. Like, that's why I couldn't talk about it to anyone. My own mother didn't even believe me. So it's like I was holding that shit in all the way up to 21. Finally got to my sister and I just like regurgitated everything. I couldn't even hold it in anymore. And she couldn't digest it because she had blocked everything out. But I literally told her everything that happened to her and to me. And it was just crazy, the whole process, because that's why I'm like so in awe how you dealt with it, because you were able to express it and get it out. I totally held everything in. My sister blocked shit out. And it's just amazing how all of us victims handled it.
It's so tough too when you do try to speak up, or like your your adoptive mother found out, and it's like, okay, this is what happens when people know, so I definitely don't want anyone else to know about this.
Yeah, exactly. Could not tell anyone, even my girlfriends, my relationships. Of course, I could never even have a relationship due to my issues. As soon as the relationship would get intimate, I was effed up, literally.
Right.
I don't know how the world works or the spirit guides work. Before my sister even told me she got molested, I'm in Manhattan and I'm running around and I meet all these girls and I'm like, and they're like drawn to me for some reason. They like come over and just start chatting with me and I'm like chit chatting. And then next thing you know, I hear them saying, "Oh yeah, my dad molested me." And I'm like, "Whoa, TMI, man." Yeah, so I would be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I was just like hugging all these women and being so sad. Like I was so drained and crying for them. What am I, a sexual abuse survivor magnet? Like I didn't understand. And then like shortly after, my sister's sitting there telling me, "Yeah, dad molested." I was like, "What?" I could not believe it. I'm like,
so that happened actually before you spoke up, Chinhee. So there's something going on energetically there then, where it's like you're both getting to this point together where you're like, hey, I'm ready to hear this information. Hey, I'm ready to say the information. And people around you just start gravitating towards that. I feel similarly, especially when you start posting that content on TikTok. I mean, you get exposed. I mean, so many people have been molested, and obviously everyone has some form of trauma. So it's like you start being vulnerable and authentic about these experiences, and people who are looking for that sort of energy gravitate towards it. And especially on TikTok, when you can reach 1 million people in a day, it's like all of a sudden you start becoming this magnet, and vice versa. I get exposed to people like you, and maybe we gravitated towards each other. But
yeah,
whatever.
I feel like you're like a brother. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I was like, normally we get asked to be on podcasts, and I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm going on Sebastian's. Like this one's definitely is interesting to me.
Well, I feel very fortunate to have you guys on here.
I just posted a video because I'm slowly posting videos about our abuse, and I want to really get out there because of our psychic and mediumship abilities. And Sebastian, you definitely have been sensitized and definitely have psychic and mediumship abilities too. Just want to let you know.
Oh,
because of that.
Thank you.
Of that trauma, you are definitely a part of the part of the brain that we use. You definitely use that part. I don't even think you may realize it, but I'm just letting you know.
The older I get, the more I sort of am interested in energy related techniques, whatever that may be. For example, like I was so skeptical of like astrology and things like that for a long time. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, okay, if the moon moves the tides and I'm made of water, surely it has some sort of an impact. Like it probably massive if it can just move the oceans constantly, So I don't know. I definitely would be down to explore that. We'll have to touch base post podcast and see if we can do some training of some kind.
Definitely, I would love to.
Yeah.
You'd be easy to train. You're a healer, Sebastian. Yeah. You're definitely a healer. Let me tell you. You're gonna. I'm sure you've noticed that you attract women who need to feel safe.
It's funny you say that, because I've gotten to this point now where obviously this podcast is like one of the main things in my life. So I'll be on a first date and somebody will be like, so like, what do you do? And I just immediately, I'm like, well, I got molested. I have this podcast. So you're like 10 minutes into the date, it's like, the most intimate thing about me. And so it creates this really interesting environment where all of a sudden it's like, I'm not afraid for you to know this. So you can feel that. I think we pick up on that energetically, that like, I'm not going to judge you for whatever you went through. So all of a sudden we're like just right in the, like, the deepest possible level of like our trauma on 15 minutes into a date. And it makes for some pretty wild interactions, but I don't have it any other way, But I do want to ask you guys, like, do you remember like how this stopped when you were 14?
Yeah. So I was like getting physically affected by it. I was having like issues health-wise. At 14, I joined volleyball, and I had a best friend, and I literally like practically lived over there. When my mom found out, she went against me. She pretty much, him and her started fighting all the time. And she actually got sick with cancer. So at 14, that's when it stopped, because she got sick. I was out all the time. My sister was, oh my God, she was like in her own world. When my mom was sick she got diagnosed with a rare form of skin cancer. We had to go to New York City. A year later, she just got worse within a year, and then ended up dying while I was out of the house. Yeah, I couldn't be around her.
But like, I didn't know that then. You know what I mean? I'm like, are you coming? Hey, hello? Smoke some more. Get over here, Miss Pothead. I was like, hurry up. Like, do something.
Pot saved my life.
Did it really? I mean, I certainly have an affinity for it. How did that impact you?
Oh my God, pot, like me, I was smoking like morning, noon, and night because I just couldn't deal. I didn't want to even be conscious.
Yeah.
So I was literally, pot was making me calm, and because I had the worst anxiety. So pot was pretty much my savior, because I would just get so stoned that I would be like in another dimension. And that's where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As soon as I started coming back into this dimension, I was like, no, I can only take this dimension for like small doses, like,
Molesters.
What's that?
We forgot to include the other molesters.
Oh yeah, fill me in.
Well, we didn't get to that part yet.
We had a summer nanny.
Wait, Sebastian, did you notice that when you were molested, that you attracted other predators?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to my friend who was. It's so interesting, because my friend, he was molested by a priest. He thinks that's what he remembers, is like bits and pieces of molestation from a priest. And he was talking about how like he'll go out to bars and he'll attract people that are very physically aggressive with him. And, people who don't know him at all. And he's like, I feel like I'm giving off some sort of an energy that is like,
we do.
Yeah, like a victim energy or something. And I didn't have any experiences other than the molestation sexually that were like unwanted or anything. But I feel like I'm very aware of what people want from me quickly. Like, even if somebody isn't necessarily like touching me, I feel like with eye contact, and maybe this is everyone, but I do feel a particularly heightened awareness about like, oh, this, I don't know if you're trying to molest me right now, but like, I don't think I want to be around you, you know?
It's true. It's true. We have that. It's not a victim energy. It's a sexual victim energy,
Mm.
and we attract aggressive and predatorial people. A lot of the people that were attracted to us were either sex addicts, just wanted sex.
Interesting.
You know? Yeah. You didn't notice that?
You could look like shit and still get hit on. People have told me that it's like they feel instantly, I'm either like a nympho or I'm so sexual. And I'm like, no, they assume it because they're feeling a vibe.
When you're exposed to these things sexually, like obviously way earlier than you should be, oftentimes we develop like hypersexuality or different tendencies, coping mechanisms, maybe trying to like feel a sexual experience that isn't the thing that we had experienced for so long when we were kids. So I've been trying to be aware of like, okay, what do I really want from this experience? And if it's something that's like an ulterior motive other than like just wanting to be with the person and like enjoy this time that we're spending together sexually or just hanging out, if I feel like there's this other sort of void, I try to not act on it and just sit with the feeling and use that feeling as like an opportunity to go deeper into the healing that I still need to do. Like, hey, there's still a part of you that doesn't feel like that I think for a long time I derived a lot of worthiness from sex and people finding me attractive. And I think that's inevitably related to the molestation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We had two brothers, Puerto Rican brothers that my dad adopted from the Bronx that are 15 and 12.
So how old were you guys when that happened?
8.
They screwed every girl in the neighborhood. Then they were like doing shit with us. I mean, I learned about sex at 7.
Right.
And I feel it's because they picked up on the energy of our father.
Or they were getting molested by him as well. Or maybe by the mother.
I feel that our summer nanny picked up on our dad too, in a way. Like, it's almost like people reenact certain things. Like, okay, maybe the predator was inside of them, but it's like if you're in an abusive household and you see someone hitting a dog, then you have to go and babysit that dog, and then you're like, oh, let me just smack it. It doesn't matter because that person smacks it too. It's like they're picking up on the vibration or the energy of the I don't give a shit, let's have sex with minors attitude. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, if you're in that household and that's what your experience is, it's like, hey, my dad is doing this.
Yeah. Our brothers taught us how to make out, French kiss, all this bullshit. And I was like, I told my dad, I'm sick of our brothers making me go downstairs and freaking touch their dick. And he was like, what? Like, he saw red. And meanwhile, it's like, who are you to get mad, Mr. freaking hypocrite?
Yeah.
We jump in this car and we're like driving for hours and we're in a field. And I see the brothers are crying and they're hugging us, saying goodbye. And I'm like, where are you going? He just dumps them off in a field. I was like,
what?
We were in the bathroom it was a rest stop area. I'm pretty sure that there was people picking them up. It was a rest stop area and there was a field there, but I'm pretty sure someone picked them up.
And it's like, they're gone. We have no more brothers. And I'm like, okay. So when the nanny molested me and she was physically abusing you, I told Dad then too. And it's like, he didn't care because it was a woman. But she'd want to talk to me every night for an hour. And I'd be like, I have nothing to say to you. Like when she wasn't working as a nanny, she'd want to hang out and talk to me at night. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like,
yeah. I'm off the clock, lady. Like, I'm not here. You can molest me. I'm not here for the emotional molestation, too.
I'm like, we're 12 years old. Like, what does this 38-year-old want with me or whatever? I was just like, no. Like, and my sister would be like, come on, she wants to talk to you. And I'm like, no.
So you guys were both getting molested by different people simultaneously.
At one point I thought, what am I here on this earth for? Like sexual healing? Like, what am I to heal all the perverts? Like, that feel ugly. Maybe they want to feel pretty. Like, what's up with this? I felt like a sex machine, or I felt like a 2-cent hoe. Like, I didn't understand, like, why was I put on this earth, you know?
I mean, at first, after a while, I thought that we were adopted. It's almost like, I was sitting here thinking, my God, I feel so much more fortunate that we weren't sex trafficked. But in actuality, it feels like we were.
I would have been trafficked. At least I would have like been around other people.
Yeah, I would have had some variety.
but in the same circle, it was like, at least with people that they knew or whatever. But these, like, I was sitting here thinking, like, those poor kids that are being sex trafficked, having to be with these disgusting old men that they don't even know, and they're scared for their lives. Oh, I feel so much more fortunate that I was actually in a home with a supposed father and mother. You know what I mean?
How is that fortunate? It was our dad. Like,
because at least it wasn't
strangers.
I'm trying to find the crumb of good in our disgusting situation.
When we're going through these experiences, we try to find things that make it seem like it's not that bad. It's a survival mechanism.
I know.
It's like we look at other experiences that people are having and we almost feel like guilty for complaining about our own, because it's like, well, they have it way worse than us. Who am I to say that this is bad? We all have such similar tendencies. It's interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So you spoke up at 21, Chinhee, and then
yeah,
did this, like, when you guys started talking about these experiences, were you having?
Well,
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, mind you, that at 8 years old, I was diagnosed with stuttering. I mean, I had stuttering, and I also have autism.
Gotcha.
I'm on the spectrum, so I was dealing with that shit too.
Yeah, just throw that in the mix. Why not? Yeah. Wow. So how did that affect you?
Like, what a sick fuck, targeting the autistic child.
And you know what's disgusting about him? He was a big head of the Special Olympics, and we were sitting there wondering, my God, did he like take advantage of some of those Special Olympic kids?
Yeah, no, like they loved him too.
Like, he was like constantly with kids, Special Olympics, and
yeah,
thank God we hit 15 because we were too old. Like, we weren't considered a kid anymore. No wonder. That's how it stopped, because we got too old.
At his funeral, people are like, oh, your dad was such a great person.
How much time passed between when you were 21 and when your adoptive dad died?
Unfortunately, our mom died when we were 15. Well, not unfortunately, but she died at 15. And then, how old was he? Late 80s?
9, man.
Yeah, he got to live. I think it was like 8 years ago. He finally passed.
Between 21 and when he passed, like, what were your lives like? Were you able?
My God. I couldn't deal or cope with anything. I was constantly high, and I was just a hot mess, and I wasn't present. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh my God, the car's gone. Chinhee freaking crashed it.
Yeah, I've been in 5 car accidents. I was just a total wreck.
You know what it was, is that it was a lot of push and pull. Do we want to make his life hell, or is it even worth having his energy in our life? And it really solidified that she did get molested, that she was his girlfriend, because every boyfriend she would have, or anyone that was in her life, they'd be gone. I'm like, what did you do to her boyfriends?
Oh, what do you mean?
And like, he would talk to them and like scare them off.
He would make them break up with me. He was like a psycho, stalking me, had to come up to my college every weekend, had to talk to me on the phone every night. He would like constantly send me pictures of like these beautiful Asian women with long hair and be like, oh my God, you're way more beautiful than she is.
That's so bizarre. It's wild to see sort of the tendencies evolve, even though you might have aged out physically in terms of what he was attracted to. Emotionally, he still viewed you as his girlfriend and somebody who
Oh
needed to
yeah.
be there for him and wanted to see you on the weekends in college and everything.
Oh yeah, because at that point I couldn't even work because I was so debilitated and dysfunctional.
Right.
And my sister had to work 3 jobs just to keep us afloat. And you know what's sick, Sebastian, is that I continued to stay in touch with him because I felt bad for him. And it's like
Yeah.
I would continue to be the daughter because I felt bad for him. Yeah,
It's
it was
so
disgusting.
wild. In addition to the guilt that we feel we're putting on other people by talking about this and ourselves, the guilt we put on ourselves, we even feel guilty for the people that are abusing us. I remember not wanting the guy who molested me to be mad at me. I knew that he would be mad at me if I spoke up. We are exposed to these things that warp our thinking in ways that take a long time to rewire and to heal from.
Yeah.
And it's like these I feel like especially when we get older and we're like, well, I was a kid, so like I guess I was acting crazy. But when we get into this old, like when we get older, we I feel like we blame ourselves even more for not acting differently. But in reality, it's like we're just doing the best we can in these experiences, and until you start healing all of the actions that you're doing, it's like it's pretty reasonable.
That's what I wanted. That the real healing began because I was doing nothing but numbing myself up till 21. The
Hmm.
real healing begins when you're actually in a relationship, being intimate with someone. You're having flashbacks and triggers. Oh my God, that's when the real healing begins. It's almost like it's just unbelievable how the process that you have to go through just to even heal from that shit. I don't know
Yeah.
what you had to go through, but the fact is, like me, I mean, there were so many different scenarios. Like I couldn't even take a shower or a bath with my partner
Mhm.
because so I wouldn't get triggered. And it was like I was so controlling with the sex because I was like trying to control myself and trying to control the triggers, like anything. And what's weird is that these people would trigger me so badly, maybe say some of the same things that my dad would be like if anyone would say I love you during sex, it would just kind of like it would set me off because that's what he would say to me. So anytime any of my partners would be intimate and during intimacy saying I love you, I would be enraged.
Tough phrase to be triggered by.
That was what was
Brutal.
triggered. It was a big trigger for me. And like for me to have to like stop myself in my tracks and wondering why I'm taking my shit out on this person that just said, I love you.
Hmm.
Like I have a serious problem. I need to like really get a grip and get a grip on my triggers. And I had to like literally apologize to every single woman that I had dated or been with and apologize for taking my shit out on them.
But that's the key though. Like, but the awareness. Like you have to bring awareness into these triggers, the things that make you feel those extreme emotions and like panic and anxiety, all of these things that come up from childhood or recent things. Like when it's hard to heal from something that you're not aware of. That you're not aware that this could be the cause of what it is. But the fact that you're like, oh my God, I'm freaking out at this person who just said they love me, that's not a normal reaction to I love you. So there's something going on inside of me that's causing this to happen, which is an amazing step to take in the healing process.
well, the fact that I would be like disgusted that they were telling me they love me and be like, no, fuck you, and treat them like shit after they told me they loved me was just unbelievable. And I literally had to take time to apologize to everyone and then go figure out why I was doing that. And then everything clicked. But that's where the real healing begins, is when you're triggered to look at yourself and to go back to that shit and to relive it.
Okay, that is so true and was a huge like step for me in all of this healing was treating triggers as opportunities rather than something that needs to be buried. I
Yeah.
mean, they're literally showing you the things that that you need to heal. And it's also like a perspective shift because you're able if you're not afraid of being triggered, you don't resist these experiences as much, and you actually can look at the situation more objectively rather than being like, I just don't want to feel this way anymore, let me just do something differently or freak out at somebody or whatever the thing is. But that shift in perspective of triggers, I think, is extremely helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it was like crazy because every time I would get into a relationship, I'd be like, nope, we're not taking showers together. I'm not going in the bath with you. Don't even think about it. And I would be like this big control freak. And I'd be like, nope, we're not having sex more than 5 times a week. And I'm like, nope, you can't go, you can't do this, you can't do that. And they'd be like, well, what the hell can I do? I don't know what you can do.
I would be like, if they didn't give me sex, I think they wouldn't love me. And I'd be pissed off.
Wait, that's exactly how I feel. That's what I mean about the validation from sex. You start thinking to yourself like, okay, how much you want to have sex with me is directly related to how much you actually love me. So it's like, when we don't even give them the opportunity to just like be wanting to do something else, or just, they have their own experiences that perhaps in this particular moment they might not want to have sex, but we internalize it and say, this is because you hate me now. How do I fix this situation?
Or they're tired, like, hello, people are tired. Like, that is a legit reason. But like, I would be like, I don't care. I want sex. Like, I want it now.
Well, what's crazy is that the opposites attract. Like, I was like, I don't give a shit about sex. I could be in bed with like 5 hot supermodels and I wouldn't even touch them.
I was a whore.
Yeah, you were like promiscuous. You turned out promiscuous, and I turned out like Virgin Mary.
Interesting.
I went like, there was one point I went 3 years without sex, and when I finally did have sex again, it's like I was never very sexual. Honestly, it's like I would have rather read a book or play a video game, because I was just so turned off by it.
I wonder how the differences in your guys' molestation experiences dictated your like trajectories of sexual interests. You know, you seem to have this like extreme deterrent from sex, Chinhee, and Sunhee, yours seems to be more focused on having it for validation or whatever the reason is. And I'm curious, what were your molestation experiences like with that babysitter?
Oh my God. I was emotionally attached to her because the bitch wanted to talk to me every night and chat and cuddle. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, I would be emotional with women and I could never hurt them. But when it came to guys, I didn't want to cuddle with them. And I would be like, once the deed was done, I'd get up and go take a shower, and I'd be like, oh, please don't, this is not personal. I'm just really clean. Meanwhile, scrubbing off their energy off of me.
This is not personal. It's such a classic like survivor statement. We need that for like all of our situations. It's not that I don't want you to love me. It's not personal, I swear. Yeah.
That's what my dad did to me. It was like wham bam goodbye. So I was reenacting it with my relationships. I had no respect for guys in a way. I just used them, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sure they didn't have any problem with you using them.
If I'd have cuddled with them, that's an extension of a connection, right?
Totally.
Sex is connecting. Talking on the phone is connecting. I could do those two things, but when it came to cuddling, I couldn't sit still. I had to get the F out of there.
Yo, we're very similar in that way, because I actually find sleeping together literally to be sometimes more intimate than sleeping together figuratively, like having sex. Like if I have sex with somebody, it's almost like, whoa, like, you know, I don't know if I want to sleep over with you before we've had sex. It's like I don't know. It's interesting how we've developed like that.
Exactly. It's really intimate.
We're all just trying to make sense of what happened to us, you know, and like here we are.
That's what you get when you get drugged with Benadryl and you don't remember or don't even know what the hell happened to you, but you see your pajama bottoms off every day. It's like,
right.
What the hell? My pajama bottoms are gone, and I'm like, hello? Like, I thought my sister was like playing a joke on me. Like, it's like freezing.
Yeah, I didn't take those off. Like, what happened here? It's crazy.
No, that's bullshit.
So you guys are going through these experiences, you've spoken up and you're talking about it, and, you know, trying to make sense of what happened, going through life, trying to escape this dimension in some states, trying to
Oh, yeah.
survive basically. How did you
So-
get go ahead.
While we're trying to survive and I'm trying to get a hold of my stuttering and my autism and dealing with flashbacks and triggers.
It just feels like every year there's always some massive learning and panic attacks, or us sitting in the freaking hospital parking lot waiting. Are we going to die? Nah, we're okay. It's like medicine after medicine, trying out things. And it's like, finally, we made good money. We were very successful, always making money. It's just, we were never happy. You know what I mean? We've had Mercedes convertible. We've had Lexus convertible. We had $1 million. We were millionaires and we were miserable.
Yeah.
What the
Well, that $1 million was our father's. So it was like we ended up giving away like $500,000 in cash to all the maids that worked in the hotels, because we were traveling, we were staying everywhere. We gave it to all our money and all of our properties to people that were poor.
psychometric
Whoa.
psychometry is where you pick up empathy on an object, and every time we pull out money out of the bank, we would order something and the shit would break, or we would buy something and it would be like messed
It was
up,
bad juju.
and we're like,
So you think that's because it was your adoptive dad's money?
Yeah. Yeah.
I started giving it away. I'd be on my balcony going, yo, and these people would be like, yeah, and I'd be like, do you want a laptop and a TV and phones and stuff? And they're like, huh? And I'm like, don't worry, you don't have to sleep with me.
In fact, I don't want you to. Yeah.
No, that would be me, Sebastian.
Right.
She would.
And he's like, come on up. Yeah.
You'd have like maids fucking lined up after we're done working in our hotel, and we'd have a bunch of fur clothes and clothing, and they're like picking them all out and leaving.
Well, what's crazy is that as soon as we touched that money, it was like constantly feeling the darkness of that pedophile, the darkness, the memories of him, like the darkness, the dark energies, who he had like so many dark entities attached to him. If you saw his house before he passed, he should have been the star of Hoarders. It was disgusting. His house, it took us 2 months to clean out that house. My sister gave his condo in Myrtle Beach away to this guy for $5,000.
Because
That's how bad we wanted to disconnect from his energy. Picking up energies on that pedophile's money was almost just as bad as dealing with him when he was alive.
Well, it's tying you back to the experiences. At a certain point, it's like,
they go, we know you're grieving, but damn, I would go run to get that money. And I'm like, sorry, I just don't care right now. I just can't.
And you know what? You know what's funny, Sebastian? As soon as we got rid of all of his money and we were like broke, we were sitting in our 1-bedroom apartment and we were broke, but we had we didn't have his energies on us anymore. And we were like back to laughing and smiling.
I totally believe it. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, like, if by some wild accident or like maybe if I took the guy who molested me to civil trial and somehow I like wound up with his house, I certainly wouldn't go like hang out there or like want to own it. Like I think it makes a lot of sense to like not want to be associated with the person. And if they're tied energetically to money or whatever it is, I get it. What was it like for you guys after he died? Like, how did you feel?
Free. What's messed up is that because our mom died, and then because we didn't even have contact with our birth parents, our Korean parents, and it's like it was just like me and my sister, and that was it. And it was like I felt like I couldn't breathe because it's like I felt like we had no one left now.
Yeah.
Even though he was a pedophile, disgusting piece of shit, it was like just knowing that we had a father,
Yeah.
at least, was like what I was like accepting of. When you feel that disconnection completely of like, oh my God, we don't even have a father now anymore, even though he was a piece of shit. It's like, it's almost like I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like I was like, we were all alone now.
No matter how shitty a person was to you, it's like death has a new perspective on that person. And especially when it's like, okay, yeah, it's like it's your adoptive dad, it's I can understand why it would be a weird feeling, accompanied by feelings of relief and like, hey, I'm safe. He can't hurt me anymore. At the same time,
Yeah.
like, whoa, you know, that person was in my life a lot, and they won't be ever again. If the guy who molested me ever dies, I'll have to give you guys a call.
No,
Did you guys ever go ahead? What?
so feel free.
I honestly feel like I do already. I mean, who knows, right? Like, he's alive, so I imagine I'll definitely feel something when he dies. But I do feel like it's different because he wasn't in my life after, you know, high school, basically. But yeah, I wonder if I will feel differently. Did you ever connect with your biological parents?
We did. That was a shit show.
Really?
She was lying. So we had this Korean woman
Dude,
in
this
New
is
York
a
City.
podcast.
Huh?
Whole other podcast that you can't
Yeah,
even say it
really.
in 2 sentences.
We went to go. We found out we had an aunt in Philadelphia, so we went. A Korean woman found her for us, and so we went to go see her, and ended up being our mother.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Oh, I mean, we're like lie detectors. She was lying the whole time. She even lied about speaking good English. She spoke perfect English, and she had like this Asian accent.
I was like, this bitch is an actress. You know what I mean? It's like,
Was she like going after the money that you guys had inherited or something?
no, not
No.
it. She thought we were coming for money, and we're like, no, we want to see someone that looks like us. Christ.
Oh.
As soon as you went and walked away to go have a cigarette with her, they walked exactly the same way. They both sat down exactly the same way, and they both smoked their cigarette just like each other. And I just went, what the hell? That was the moment that I knew this is not my aunt. This is our mother.
You're going to trip out when we tell you who she is.
Who is she?
An actress, celebrity.
Oh, okay. We can keep it off the for sure. No worries. Well, I also wanted to ask you guys, you know, part of the reason I was so drawn to your content was because you both talk a lot about forgiveness, and you talk about forgiving, you know, lots of people in your life, people who have wronged you. What has that process of forgiveness been like for the two of you?
Well, if I didn't like the anger and the pain that you carry
It just makes you
for
sick.
so many years literally makes you sick. I mean, it literally affected my nervous system to the point where I was having seizures. I was having, you know, it just really took a toll on my nervous system. And harboring anger and pain is like a disease. It like literally kills you mentally, emotionally, physically. And it was either I'm going to kill this bastard or I'm going to forgive him. And I finally got to that point, because if I stayed in that rage, I would have probably either killed him, and I just couldn't do that. I'm too light for that.
It's hard to heal and not be angry if you're not doing things to apply things to your life, like taking care of yourself, working out, or you know, eating healthier. If you're sitting on the couch depressed and you're not leaving the house, you're drinking sodas and you're not doing, you know, things that make you feel good, you're going to stay angry. So in a way, like, you have to do some work. You can't just always say, let me be depressed. You got to feel it too, but you cannot live in it and absorb it to the point where you start getting stomach issues or you start getting panic attacks. Like,
Yeah.
do some work in order to not be a victim anymore. I wonder why some people have so many hardships, but yet they act normal and they come out of it really well. It has to have something to do with some past life shit. Like,
Yeah. I'm not sure, but I've been feeling like, with regards to past lives and things, I guess for me, it just seems way crazier that we exist at all than like the fact that we could have existed before. Like, this iteration seems like way more wild than like more iterations. So I think all of that stuff is honestly possible. We already like don't know how we got here. So like surely we could not know how we got here again, like more. You know?
You might have been a dog. I might have been a cat.
Yeah. Maybe that's why we feel familiar. Maybe we were each other's pets or something. I don't know. Who knows? But happy to be here with you guys now.
But you know what? I think also, Sebastian, is that us light people, that the forgiveness is like very easy for us because we're so loving. We're so unconditionally loving. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you abused the shit out of me, ruined my life, but yeah, I can still love you. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Isn't it? If
Yeah.
you think about it, it's insane.
Forgiveness is really for us. It's for the person
Yeah.
that is doing the forgiving. Because if you don't do that, then generally you'll carry around the negative emotions that you guys are talking about. And,
Yeah.
if you feel like you want to murder somebody, that doesn't feel good inside.
No.
And even when you go to do it, if you were to do it and be successful, it's like you're not going to now be filled with love. Like it's something that you provide for yourself and you cultivate within yourself. And one of the best ways to do that is by forgiving the people that have wronged you, and like literally become lighter by letting go of these things that you've been carrying. So I think that's awesome. And
I think it's also from a spiritual perspective, is taking the empathy off all the dark energies that we've been subjected to and
transmuting it.
absorbing. Yeah, it's like we have to get it off of us to get back to ourselves.
Yeah. Well, that sort of leads into my last question here that I have for you two. And you both have done clearly an immense amount of healing, and I just want to know, what advice would you guys give to somebody who has been through something similar and is hoping to get to the point where you're at now?
My goal is, by posting and sharing my story, is to show people. And I'm also like intertwining the spiritual gifts, because you can heal yourself just by being aware of the fact that you're so empathic. And like I said, all those negative emotions and feelings that us victims and survivors have about ourselves is not even ours. It's our empathy picking up on our abusers and absorbing them. And I wish that I had someone tell me that, because it would have certainly helped me immensely. But I want to teach the victims out there to not destroy themselves and to not be so hard on themselves, so they can accelerate their healing process.
I think the bottom line is that if you're going through like flashbacks, or you block something out, or you have to, and if you keep running yourself ragged and something like makes you stop and get sick, then you got to realize you haven't healed from something. If you're trying to avoid, enjoying life, that means something has to come out of you, right? So, or if you're not, and you're messed up and depressed and having anxiety all the time, you have to be around positive people, and you have to talk about it. If you don't talk about it, it's like toxins, like they're sitting in your spirit. You're just kind of polluting your spirit. And so you're attracting other polluted spirits. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You want to be around people who genuinely care and love you, or go to therapy, or try to use all the tools possible. And if you don't have money, try to do whatever free stuff is out there. But the bottom line is, I think for sensitive people, we have to be around genuine people that have no motive. They're not using and abusing us. You have to be given love, and love is what heals people, bottom line. And if you're not surrounded by that, it's harder to deal with it. And then, it's just harder.
Totally. One of the messages that you both gave was just to talk about it, to find a way to express what and process what has happened to you, whether that's sharing on social media, or sharing with a therapist, or sharing with friends, or talking to yourself about it, like looking at these experiences, writing it down, exactly, facing the truth of what happened to you, knowing that you can heal from whatever it is that you went through, and knowing that burying it is just making things worse for you and literally causing you to be physically sick oftentimes. So yeah, talking about it is one of the best things that we can do. And I'm just so grateful to have been able to talk with both of you about this today. And I really appreciate your time. And where can people find you guys on social media?
So I'm at Chinhee Park on TikTok and Instagram.
That's Chinhee Hee.
Park.
Mine is Sunhee Park 1111 on TikTok. And then what's my Instagram? Sunhee Park 49.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sebastian, my followers are asking me how to find you. Sebastian Scales, right?
Yep, Sebastian Scales on every platform. Sebastian, scales like a fish, and I will pop up. Guys, it was such a pleasure chatting with both of you, and I know this has been a long time in the works, so I really am grateful that we finally got to do it. And
thank you so much, sweetie. It was a total pleasure hanging with you.
We're so glad you healed too.
hey, it's still in the process, but certainly working on it. It's an ongoing thing, and it makes it easier to be able to talk with people that like know what you mean and know how you feel. It's like anytime you can do that, you just feel less alone.
Anytime you need to talk, we're here for you, okay?
Hey, right back at you. Thank you.
All right, sweetie.
Wait, I'm sorry. What was that, Sunhee?
Totally emanate love and good energy. So as you heal and do your podcast, it will heal you.
For sure. I feel it right now. You can feel it just like in every conversation. It's an immediate thing, So thank you guys for, we're all just out here healing together.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Take care. Thank you. Bye.